Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are back with more Wealthy Monsters. It's been a while since we've done an episode, but a lot of my series, they're so mixed together, but still working on them, every one of them. So, um, anyway, before we get into the video, I want to let you know I have two ways to donate to the channel. I have a Patreon account, which allows you to donate month to month. It's on a monthly basis, and then I also have a coffee account, which allows you to donate month to month as well, but it can also do one-time donations. I'll have both those links in the description box below the video. If you are financially struggling, please don't donate. I'd rather you be able to take care of what you need to take care of. Things are so tough out there right now for everybody. It's ridiculous. If you can donate, you can afford to, and you want to, thank you. I do appreciate it. I really do. Now, with that, let's go ahead and hop back into this video. Today, we are looking at the Koch family. Notably, Charles Koch, since he seems to be the head of the family at this point. But, yeah. Last time they were on the top 10 list of world's billionaires, 2018. Yeah. Charles and David Koch. David, of course, has passed away. Charles, still alive, still gathering money. Well over $100 billion. Let's see. Yeah, there's Koch and family. Well, not over $100 billion, but Charles and family, $73.8 billion, and Julia Koch, the wife of David Koch and family, $81.2 billion. Because remember, it used to be Charles and David who were the main holders of the company that their father founded, Koch Industries. It is, I think, the second largest privately held company. So it's not public. It's not beholden unto stockholders or anything. So yeah. Privately held company. They deal with so many things. But yeah. Anyway. And the Kochs themselves are on here as on the list for one of the wealthiest families at $158 billion total. 158 billion. That includes Julia Koch, who was the wife of David Koch, who's passed away. Charles Koch, who is the last remaining son running Koch Industries. Bill Koch and Fred Koch were bought out by David and Charles. And then Frederick R. Koch was the original founder. Sorry, this is the original Fred Koch. That's the son, Fred Koch, named after the father. But yeah, and that's who created the company, Fred Koch. So yeah. Originally, it was split amongst the four sons, but David and Charles bought out Bill and Frederick. Now, with that, let's look at Charles here. He has been chairman of Koch Industry, or Incorporated, America's second largest private company by revenue since 1967. He brought on his first ever co-CEO in 2023. The diversified company has some $125 billion in revenues from businesses including pipelines, chemicals, software, automotive components, and Dixie cups. Just this weird, wide range of things. His father, Fred Koch, improved a method of refining heavy oil into gasoline in 1927 and started the family business in 1940. In 1983, Charles and his brother David, who passed away in 2019, bought out their siblings Bill and Frederick, who Frederick died in 2020, for a reported $800 million. David's widow, Julia Koch, inherited his 42% stake in the company. From 2020 to 2022, Charles transferred $5.3 billion of Koch Incorporated's non-voting stock to a pair of non-profits with fewer restrictions on lobbying and politics than traditional charities. Of course he did, because Charles and David Koch, right-wing. Now, it's not to say they don't have some, Charles don't have some things he is left-leaning on, but very right-wing, because there are a lot of the same people who pushed a lot of the right-wing BS that's screwing America right now. Forbes estimates those shares accounted for nearly a tenth of the 42% stake previously held by Charles. Though he still has 42% voting power. So yeah. But he's up there in age 90. Married, 2 children, which brings us to the family. You have Fred C. Koch, the original company founder, Mary Robinson Koch, the mother of the 4 brothers. The sons are Frederick R. Koch, who passed away in 2020, Charles Koch, David Koch, who passed away in 2019, and Bill Koch. Charles had his 2 children, Chase Koch and Elizabeth Koch. So yeah, Chase Koch, president of Koch Disruptive Technologies, and Elizabeth Koch, publisher and writer. While David Koch was married to Julia Koch. I don't know if they had any children. Let's open this up right quick and take a look. Three children is what it said. again, their politics was very right leaning, especially in ways to help put more money in the pockets of the already wealthy. And for the wealthy to be able to donate and contribute huge sums of money in to politicians' pockets. I believe it was I can't remember the name of the case, but it was one of the big things saying, "Yeah, money is speech." One of the worst decisions ever made. Three children: David Jr., Mary Julia, and John. Mary Julia, associate opinion editor for the Wall Street Journal, and formerly a staff reporter for the New York Sun, and editor-in-chief of the Harvard Independent. Don't see anything mentioning David Julia or David Jr. and John, though, what they do. But yeah. Let me see if I can find any mention of that case. I think it's Americans for Prosperity. I may be wrong on that though, but it's something versus the United States. And it basically said, yeah, the rich can donate more money. This was after Buckley v. Vallejo had already been a decision for quite a while. So this just made it so the rich can donate even more with this court case. It's really just disgusting because it shows the greedy, avaricious, monstrous group, just how much they want to rake in the wealth and everything. They don't mention it, but yeah. Citizens United. That was the name of the case. But yeah, see, and this is born into them because the father, Fred Koch, was one of the founders of the John Birch Society. Very right-wing think tank. American right-wing political advocacy group founded in '58. It is anti-communist and supports social conservatism, and is associated with ultra-conservative, radical right, far right, right-wing populist, and right-wing libertarian ideas. But yeah. See, it's David Koch, Koch family, Koch Incorporated, Charles. Where was that link of Fred Koch? But yeah. Anyway. Yeah, there it is. There it is. That's what it said. One of the founding members of the John Birch Society. So the right wing idealism has been in their blood since the beginning. Since the very beginning. Has a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science from MIT. And same for the other brother, David. Yeah. Had a restraining order placed on his younger brother, Bill. See, the want of the company and the money basically split the family apart. I don't know how close they were as kids or anything, but clearly what happened wasn't good for them. Bill Koch, the other surviving brother, billionaire businessman, sailor, collector. His boat was the winner of the America's Cup in 1992, and his estimated net worth is still $1.8 billion in 2019 from oil and other investments. So it's not like he's still doing bad, and he has bachelor's, master's, and a doctorate from MIT like his brothers did. But yeah. Attended Culver Military Academy. Got his degrees at MIT. Worked in the family's company. He and his eldest brother, the deceased Frederick R. Koch, had inherited Koch's industry stock, and in 1980, after an unsuccessful attempt to take over the company from Charles William Bill Koch, was fired from the company. In 1983, the stock netted Frederick and William $800 million in a sale to their brothers, Charles and David. Legal disputes lasted some 2 decades, over 20 years. Almost or around 20 years. And it would be in 2001 that he charged that, or Koch would reach a settlement where he had charged that the company was taking oil from federal and Indian land. Founder and president of the Oxbow Group. And again, he's got the same right-wing thinking. Had created a super PAC to support Mitt Romney's presidential campaign. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, there's Charles, John Birch Society, David, Bill, and yeah, like we said, Fred C. Koch is the original founder of the company. And then he had the four sons, as well as Mary Robinson Koch, or with Mary Robinson Koch, his wife. They named a tanker, one of their ships, after her, the Mary R. Koch. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Their political contributions began to attract widespread attention from media outlets in 2008 when, through their family foundations, they contributed to 34 political and party organizations, 3 of which they founded, several of which they directed, and have organized a network of an estimated 500 libertarian and conservative donors. But yeah, like I mentioned, Citizens United was the case they were connected with. Former Republican Congressman Joe Scarborough said that, has pointed out that the Koch brothers have supported more than just what are generally considered conservative causes. So here's where they're kind of like, it's a little bit, they've got some understanding you can maybe push them on. They oppose George W. Bush on many issues, are pro-choice, support same-sex marriage, and work closely with the Obama White House on criminal justice reform initiatives that aligned with their own view on prison reform and stuff. So yeah. Let's see. But yeah, despite all that, they do a lot of have done a lot of damage pushing all these right wing lunatic stuff. And they're part of the reason why the U.S. still refuses, uh, didn't want to adopt looking at climate change as something serious. See, the first George Bush had supported research into global warming. But acceptance of scientific evidence on climate change began to weaken due to the Koch family's influence. Because what started their company, oil and gas. It's just, yeah, disgusting. Yeah, the refinement of heavy crude oil into gasoline in the 1920s. I think they said was when he found that. 27. Yeah, Koch Industries. Founded in 40 after he had done the innovative refining process. I saw somewhere that it said 19. I think it was 1927 is when he in 1927 he developed a more efficient thermal cracking process for turning crude oil into gasoline. Which, if you think about it, it kind of helped bring about the vehicle age, because while vehicles had already been around for a while, a little bit, it made it to where you could get gasoline and stuff to be used more regularly. The process which the company sold to many independent refineries in the U.S. threatened the competitive advantage of established oil companies, which sued for patent infringement. So, yeah. And it would be in 1940 he would develop the company. But he would pass away, I think they said, in 67, and that would be the, died in 67. And the company was split amongst his 4 sons. And it would be in June 83 where everything was kind of settled. So, yeah. But all the products they produce: asphalt, chemicals, raw materials, trading, energy, fibers, fertilizers, finance, minerals, natural gas, plastics, petroleum, pulp and paper, and ranching. That's just a list of all the different things the Koch Incorporated does. Which you often see. I've seen Georgia Pacific before, because usually the toilet paper in like hospitals, or I think schools at one point were doing it too, were Georgia Pacific. So, yeah. But apparently they also own Dixie, which does like the Dixie cups and everything. They also do plates and paper plates, paper cups. So, yeah. But this gives us a look at Charles Koch and the Koch family in general. Like I said, right here, I figured we needed to go ahead and take care of these too, since they hadn't been looked at so far. At least I don't think I looked at them, but yeah. This gives us a look at the Kochs and Koch Industries. The second largest private industry in the U.S. So yeah. It's not beholden to stockholders because there is no stock. So it's like we constantly don't have to do this or this to make a profit. But like I said, they've got their own evils regardless. So yeah. But we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing. Ask them to cite their sources, and it can't be tinfoil hat wearing sources or a bunch of anecdotes tossed together to try to make a source. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.